The world is witnessing an unprecedented chip crisis, which shows no sign of ending right now. It may be a tough couple of years with chip demand going up and supply not being able to keep up. The term that coined as a combination of two words, cheaper gigon, it refers to the global shortage of chips that took place as an aftermath of the COVID pandemic. The first to see those production problems as the Chipageddon, the cheap and Armageddon. This Armageddon is a mean something that is end of a battle, that a good and evil fight, and the last battle that is before the day of judgment. Initially, the first to see this production problem in the car industry, and there are reports of gaming consoles being affected. The COVID crisis and the lockdowns led to a series of supply chain disruptions all over the world for many materials and the product. Additionally, everyone was working from home. This led to a sudden disruption in the demand of multiple devices. Today, all these devices are powered by some chips or the other factory. The smartphones and the smart homes application are becoming more popular day by day because people are bound to live in home. They are abide by the rules and regulation. The protocols have been for the pandemic, and that has increased the smart home application industry with the increased growth and a future estimation of the smart home application, the smart devices that are be powered by those some smart assistants like Amazon Alexa, Google Home Assistant, Apple Siri, Microsoft Cortana. All these are the power those smart appliances. As a result, the home has become a one chip guzzling unit, and the semiconductor factories cannot cater to this pandemic spike. The other tragedy that have further involved with that, they have some important companies, most reputed companies in the field of electronics and device manufacturing, like a plant of Samsung in Korea, SK Hynix in China, and Renesas in Japan. SMIC industry for a semiconductor manufacturing corporations, that is the China's largest chip maker company. The US government placed those restrictions in 2020 last year. The Taiwan drought may set up those things back. That chips were the kind of important boost and a lot of fabric units and the power outage thanks to the cold wave that has drawn this scenario, that has drive and triggered those situation of this semiconductor shortage globally, and that can be hampered in the smartphone, smart home applications, smart home appliances, and many other gadgets. The cryptocurrency has taken off during this pandemic. The Bitcoin touched a peak market capitalization of $1 trillion, while it was half of that for Ethereum. And Bitcoin mining requires a huge power, electricity generation, and resources to possible of minting task. And one analyst firm estimated that about a quarter of GPU purchase in the first few months of this year went toward crypto mining. It's not an easy task. It's not a very easy for us simply increase the production of semiconductor plant as a state of the art. As chip get even more sophisticated and smaller in size, it's based on this nanotechnology and the application of nanotechnology, utility of this technology that makes chip very sophisticated, very smaller, very lightweight, very thinner, and very fit in size within these device applications appliances that can be easy to implant, easy to inbuilt those features. Application is getting more difficult to make them. The plant are expensive and take years, and many investment, many money has been put to build those industry, and a chip may take up to 3 months to make from the beginning to end to the manufacturers. It has maintained a very high quality standard. America's Intel, South Korea's Samsung, and Taiwan TSMC are the big three players in the global semiconductor market. They have taken half of the revenue, and about a dozen of players according for the rest of the industry to fulfill to drive those industry growth. And the clean room that are used to manufacture the chips that are best in the world, surpassing even the hospital standards. Even a single speck of dust can make those chips useless. Human touch and exposure to uncontrolled air, toxic air, the hydrated, moist can equally disaster for the chip for the proper functioning. And these plants are already running 365 days, 24 into 7. Globally, there are reports of chip taking more than 20 weeks from order to delivery. The first time it has happened in years, it's usually of 12 to 15 weeks. For a microcontroller and the logic chips, it's more than 25 weeks. These waits timely may get longer in future. Next year, 2022. What keeps that the supply chain crisis that are having in the semiconductor industry, it is causing those scenario a lot of stress, lot of panic in this elementary device equipment, and the supply chain are not prepared to deal with the global, industry growth globally. And the chip crisis has entered a danger zone, and the car makers may lose more than $100 billion in sales. Honda also said that it has 40% of capacity in the last period in India. It is affected. The automobile related SMEs in those areas that are complained of those shortage, and the cheap smuggling has also begun in those areas, that many cases that are found, and some of the refurbishing old chip that were others are making those fake situation, model and fake devices, and that the crisis could last till 2023. The world is entering its festive season. India also entering in the last quarter. That Diwali, Dussehra, and other in October, November, and the season in December, January also is the Christmas, New Year, Eve. Then the demand will further increase while the chip production continues to be the same. That will create a problem. The semiconductor powerhouse Taiwan will also building more fabs. The cheap action plan can be taken in US. That is a agenda for the US government. That government is announced those action plan, and India has been pushing its Atmanirbhar Bharat campaign for everything, that including chips manufacturing, to tackle those shortage of chip industry. Tata also planning to get into the semiconductor industry business in this electronics equipment, and that will solve the long-term problem and not the short-term. That's the industry will have to think out of the box to get ahead of this shortage, to tackle this shortage, fulfill those demand, and many new players involved to going through this tough phase and trying to multiply those demand. Very exciting scenario has been developed for the chip industry in future, and that's the hope for this crisis will never hamper those electronics equipment in future. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.